Hey beautiful women, namaste and welcome to, bit of fluff there, welcome to another live on the Living Shakti Awake program. Today's theme is manifestation and creation. And I'm excited to talk about this and just sort of explain how it plugs into the rest of the program. So all the lives I've been making recently, I've been talking about the Living Shakti Awake workshop series that I'm launching this year in January 2022. And we're now on the 7th workshop in a series of 9 and the beginning of the 3rd semester. So I've divided up this program into 3 terms, or I'm calling them semesters because I've got some American influence in my life. So the 3rd semester, and the focus on this final 3 months is cosmic co-creation, right? Cosmic co-creation. So the theme in all of these, welcome, the theme of all of these last 3 workshops of this year is consciously creating, consciously manifesting in alignment with divine as one. And I know this is a really huge subject that has been, you know, the theme of so much new age and spiritual talk for so very long, since I've been in that world for the last 20 years at least, and I'm sure very, very much longer. So I know this is something that's of interest always to people. It's of interest to me always, and it's a theme that I personally keep expanding and developing into and discovering more about. So my phone's doing really weird things this morning. I hope you can hear me. So today's theme, I'm just going to tell you the 3 titles of the 3 workshops that make this semester the final semester in the Living Shakti Awake program. Today I'm going to be talking about manifestation and creation. The second theme tomorrow is leadership and facilitation. How are we going to be showing up in the world as leaders, as facilitators, as creatrixes of the new earth? And the final theme, the final workshop of the 3 is stepping into the unknown, because that's where all the juice is and all the creative power ultimately is, in the unknown realms. But let's come back to today, manifestation and creation. Hands up who isn't excited by this theme, or hands up who is excited by this theme, right? We all want to know how to do this and how to juggle this with the spiritual path. And well, I certainly do anyway. And that's why I feel this is so important, because, you know, I know that each and every one of us struggles in our own way with some of the memes, with some of the truisms, with some of the beliefs around what it means to consciously co-create with God. And we can kind of get hung up on that a little bit too. So let's dive in. As I was just tuning into what was going to come through today, I never really have too much of an idea. I spend, you know, some time meditating, I jot down some notes, and then I press play and I go. But one of the thoughts that was just coming to me actually was that, you know, first of all, I speak to women because I work with women. I've been working primarily with women for 18 years. And there's something very different about women, which is that we all have, or we're all born with a womb space, right? And our bodies are unique in that we have the capacity to create and nurture life. Our desire, our sexual desire, but also our desire more generally, and our desires are a powerful energy to create, whether that's sexually or whether that's in some other way, but the energy is the same, right? And that energy of desire can be used to create, to manifest. And it can be used consciously or it can be used unconsciously. Just like in our sexuality, we can be very unconscious and be acting from our shadows, or we can be conscious and have a true understanding of the power of our sexual energy and begin to flow and activate and work with this energy in a conscious way, in a more conscious way, right? So we have the choice. But the fact that we have desire is unavoidable. If you're human, you are born with desire. So trying to avoid your desire, trying to repress your desire is never going to work. And then we have all these judgments around desire that are kind of passed down to us from the church, from religion. My phone keeps doing these weird things. I don't know why. Keeps buzzing. So then the idea of desire has become interlinked with shame and judgment around beliefs of greed, selfishness. It's not okay to have what you want. It's not okay to desire something. It's not okay if you're in any kind of Christian religion or doctrine, but probably many others too. It's not okay to want. It's not okay to desire wealth, for example, particularly in the spiritual world. That was a belief that I really, I kind of took on very much so when I came into the spiritual track, even though there were so many things that I desired. But somehow I began to judge myself for that and consider it to be greedy and selfish to want things, to want money, to desire more, right? And then we get caught in this loop of self-judgment, of self-blame, of limiting beliefs. Coming back to the physical body of woman and the womb space in which we create, that is the center for our desires and for our creativity. Whether we birth a new life, or whether we birth a project, whether we birth a piece of art, whether we birth a piece of music, whether we birth the or call into our lives more abundance, whether we focus on calling in a relationship. There are so many things that we desire, but in my life personally and in working with women, I know the things that women want are a man for a relationship, great sex, money, a home. You know, these are the kinds of typical things, good health, that people want to call in, right? So the first thing is to acknowledge that we have desire and to realize that there's nothing bad or wrong with desire itself. It's a pure energy. It's part of being a human, and that energy ultimately at its source is the energy of Shakti. She rises up within our bodies. We feel her in our root, we feel her in our genitals, we feel her in our womb, and she rises up into our hearts and up through our bodies. So it's a physical sensation. When we get turned on by something, when we desire something, it's really the same energy, the same impetus that moves through us. And the womb space as an energetic alchemical container has the potential to nourish, to gestate, to birth new life. Now let's just take that whole concept of birthing and go right back to the very start. So when we create a child, and I'm going to use this child as a metaphor for creating any kind of project, for manifesting any kind of thing or experience that you desire into your life, go right back to the very beginning, to the act of love making, which starts, of course, with, hopefully, love and desire. Love and desire, and a coming together, a holy communion, a sacred union between masculine and feminine energies and principles, right? So there's that alignment with the divine masculine as much as the alignment with the divine feminine as we come together to create. When we make love, we are not going to create a child every single time, right? So the circumstances have to be right. And that metaphor we can then take to understand that when we are consciously creating, we may not receive everything that we desire in the way that we imagine it to come to us, right? So there's a sending out of desire. There is a consciousness that comes into the creation, and then there's a letting go. Then there is a trusting. Then there is a having faith. Then there is allowing the body and the soul and the alignment to do its thing, and trusting without attachment. If we put a huge attachment onto the outcome of our dreams, our desires, our visions, our hopes, and then something else comes along that isn't what we wanted, you know, then we beat ourselves up for, oh, we didn't do it right, I wasn't good enough, there must be something wrong with me, you know, God's punishing me, all these kind of stories that we can then tell ourselves within this realm of conscious co-creation and conscious manifestation. But the more consciousness we bring in, the more aligned we are, the greater difference it makes. I don't want to be the woman to tell you, do this and you're going to get that, because for me it's not about that. It's not about I want to use my creative powers to get everything I want as a personality, as an ego identity. But it is about acknowledging the huge power and potential that lives within each and every one of us to manifest, to co-create with God in alignment. And when I say God, don't necessarily mean like in a religious way, just I'm meaning divinity, I'm meaning source consciousness, right? So each of us has this potential, and probably most of us aren't living in alignment with that potential for all the reasons of the programming, of the conditioning. I'll give you an example for myself, because I always think things are more concrete if we give an example. So before I stepped onto this spiritual path, this path of awakening myself, making money, having what I wanted was easy. I didn't know anything about conscious co-creation. I didn't know anything about manifestation. I didn't know anything about the law of attraction. But getting the job I wanted was easy. Having a great salary was easy. Buying a house was easy. Buying a car was easy. I never lacked for anything. I had beautiful holidays. I had beautiful clothes. I had a beautiful house, right? And I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't fulfilled in myself, and I was constantly dogged by this sense of not being fully content with myself or with life, and always wanting more of something, and not even really knowing what it was. So it's not that I was super rich, but I was definitely well off and you know, materially blessed. But it didn't bring me happiness, right? And I see now with clients that I work with on quite a spectrum of wealth, I see very clearly, and I've lived, you know, I'm 57 years old, young. I know from what I see that what we're taught to believe is success or happiness in terms of status, privilege, wealth, isn't the source of well-being and happiness. It can contribute to it, but basically all of this is an inside job. And if we don't shift our consciousness at the same time, we can have all the abundance and all the wealth in the world but still be depressed, unhappy, suicidal, wanting more, feeling like we're in lack. You wouldn't believe how many people I meet who, to my eyes, are incredibly rich and they're still talking in terms of lack. So it really is a case of consciousness and energy far more than things, right? And there's a paradigm shift that's happening, and that I'm a part of, and that you're a part of, and I'm still learning about. You know, it's not like this is an area where I personally feel I've fully mastered what there is to master. This is an area I feel I am still very much growing and expanding in as the paradigms are shifting. But what I do know for sure is that the old paradigm, the patriarchal paradigm of working hard and doing more is gone, going, gone, going, gone, gone. Where we're heading to in society, in culture, in consciousness, it's not going to be that way. And those of us who are at the forefront of this awakening are here to embody the new paradigm where everything that we create in our lives, first of all, we take full 100% responsibility for everything in our lives. There is no one to blame. And secondly, we are consciously using our power as sparks of God and as women with wombs and the creative energy of Shakti to consciously create based on a paradigm of energy and vibration and resonance, based on emotion, right? Based on feeling, based on being the vibes of what it is we wish to call in or attract. It's not about working harder. It's not about doing more. It's not about planning more strategically. You know, I used to work in management consultancy. I can write you a brilliant business plan if you want me to. I can do strategic analyses that will give you the 4 Ps of the marketplace and tell you where to develop your next product or service into. But that does not interest me. I'm interested in aligning myself with divinity and living to my fullest and highest potential in that place of divine alignment. And from there, allowing the seeds of true desire to rise up and be fulfilled through me. It may not be about wealth. It may be about my soul's purpose. It may be about serving in the world. It may be about growing flowers. It may be about painting. For me, it's definitely about writing, you know. Right, I'm beginning to write my 2nd book now. And that's a huge desire that, you know, I've really noticed how, and here's the truism, I've known this truism for 20 years and still learning to master it. But I've known for 20 years where attention goes, energy flows. Where attention goes, energy flows. You all know this. But do you actually live by that? Do you actually live by the conscious direction of your attention to that which you desire or not? Do you get lost in all the sidetracks? Do you get distracted by all the negative thoughts? Do you get distracted by all the other demands on your time and energy? I want to tell you something about my book, Rapture, that I published last year. The idea for that book came, I do forget the exact date if I'm really honest, but I think it's about 7 or 8 years, something like that, before the book was actually published. I wrote one whole manuscript that took me a lot of time and energy, and then I pretty much ripped that up and started all over again. That was a lot of time and energy. I gave up multiple times thinking I would never ever get it done, or that nobody would ever want it. But I kept coming back, and there was such a strong calling to publish that book that was both mine and both a sort of a feeling within my soul that this was something I had to complete in this lifetime. And then I read a book that spoke of how, reminding me of where attention goes, energy flows, and it invited to focus on one thing. I can't remember if it was for a month or for 3 months now. Might have been one thing for 3 months, one thing for a month. I can't remember. But anyway, you get the gist. The gist was to just focus on one thing and one thing only. And I did that with the book. It was like, you need to get this done. You need to finally get this out there. So I made that my focus. And it pushed things to the side because I had to be so single-minded. And actually, I'm very good at being single-minded. I'm not very good at multitasking. And with that very, very devoted focus on that one thing, it got done. In time, on time, there was a little bit, you know, sometimes it felt a little bit like work, but mostly it was exciting because I was finally completing the thing I'd wanted to do for so long. It meant I pushed to the side other things. So, you know, some fears came up about earning money because I wasn't putting very much attention or energy into other things that earn me money at the time. I was putting that as my primary time and energy focus. But the end result was I have a published book, you know, and the joy of that, the support of the universe for that, the reflection I've had from friends and clients from that is so amazing. It's like a dream come true. And the only thing that blocked me from that before, well, actually there's two things, but let's just start with the one thing, was that I hadn't made it my primary focus, right? There is another part to this, because I don't believe when people speak in terms of manifestation, they make things very simple and straightforward. It's like, do this and you're going to get that. I always feel a little twinge of doubt, because I also know that things don't always go in a straight line. And there's a divine timing to everything that we can't necessarily always see when we are living in that moment, in that point of time. So just to give a different perspective on this, you know, so many times I have thought, this is what I want, this is where I need to be. If I don't get this, you know, it's like, this is what I must have. And it hasn't come about. So don't think that I've gotten everything I want, because I haven't. Lots of things I've desired and wanted haven't come about. And, you know, I felt disappointment, frustration, victimhood, why me, you know, these kinds of stories. But with time, at a certain point when I've looked back, I've been able to see, oh my gosh, that was so obvious that the universe was giving me very clear signals to like redirect, and I wasn't listening because I was so a little bit, you know, pig-headed, is that the right word? Just sort of a bit stubbornly going for this thing that I'd set out wanting, when actually if I had been listening to my soul and to my body and to my inner guidance, I was getting messages to redirect, but I didn't want to hear them. I didn't want to redirect. I stayed going in one direction when the universe was telling me, turn left now. You don't need to keep going that way. You got to turn left. And I didn't, right? And sometimes also, this is what I believe anyhow, you don't have to take this on if it doesn't resonate for you. Disappointment and challenge is a part of life. Disappointment and challenge is just how we roll with it. But even the disappointment and the letdown and the not achieving what we want and not getting what we want has a gift within it that we can mine if we come with that perspective that everything is a teacher, everything is a gift, which is true. I believe that to be ultimately true. The shittiest of shits is a teacher. The greatest disappointment and humiliation, I've had them, I'm sure you've had too, has been a teacher, like one of the greatest teachers. So, you know, that has to be held in balance. I want to talk a little bit about, again, the consciousness that we bring to our creation, and how we're all unique in this. So again, I don't believe there's one size fits all. I think we're all unique beings, and something works for one person, it might not work for another person. So I'm just sharing what I've picked up along the way, what has worked for me, what I've seen, what I've learned. So I do understand that sexual energy, the energy of Shakti, is divine creative energy. I do understand that when we awaken and move this energy into our wombs and our bodies and our hearts, we can call in that which we desire through the body, harnessing that energy, harnessing that vibration, harnessing that emotion, all the positive emotions that you feel. In fact, you know, this is a tantric meditation to imagine or visualize something and allow your body and your energy body to feel the energy of that. Super simple. You want to be abundant, visualize abundance, feel it in your body, let it be in your energy body, right? That's very simple, well-known practice. So there are practices of sexual magic where we consciously harness our sexual energy, call in that which we desire, whether we are self-pleasuring, whether we are flowing the energy through our bodies by ourselves, or whether we are making love with a conscious intention with a partner, you know, just like we consciously create a child. And how different it is when we consciously create a child to when we're just fucking for release. Consciously created children are different. I've seen them, I know them, they're in my field, they're in my friendship community. Very different consciously created children. Same with our conscious creation. So sex magic is a simple practice, a beautiful, divine, powerful practice of working with our sexual energy, flowing our sexual energy, and calling in that which we desire at the point of orgasm. And there is great power in that. And I've used that practice myself to manifest something so specific. It totally blew my mind. But there is a caveat with that as well. And I just want to see what your comments are, because you've written something there and I can't see without my glasses. How do you know the difference between... I can't read that because of the light. I'm going to have to respond to your comments afterwards because I can't read them. The light's not good enough. Sorry. I will respond. Yeah, so I am in human design a specific manifester. That means that manifestation works best for me when I'm really specific about what it is I desire to call in and create. So literally vision boards, lists, visualizations of very, very specific things work best for me as a specific manifester. And I didn't know that until very recently. Then someone told me and I was like, oh, that makes such good sense, because I love creating vision boards. I usually do one every year. I haven't done one for 2022 yet. But a few, well, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, I can't remember when now, I created my annual vision board, and on it were some very specific things, including a picture of this beautiful beach that I found it online. I cut it out and I stuck it on. It was just like my dream beach, because I love sun, I love tropical paradise. I dream of being in hot sunny climates with beautiful beaches. I had this picture of this beach, and then I also had written down my desires, and my desires were to meet my twin flame, my beloved, to be in a tantric conscious relationship, and for him to be a filmmaker, a videographer. I also had on my vision board countries that I wanted to visit and travel to, and those included Bali, Thailand, and Australia. Okay, in that year, and I can't remember the time frame exactly, I did some sex magic. The very next day, was approached by a man who I believed was my twin flame out of nowhere. He lived in Australia. He was he said he was a tantrika. Yeah, he said he was. I ended up going to live with him in Australia. The beach that he lived on was the beach on my vision board. He was a videographer, right? It was that specific and that immense. And there was a kick. There was a very big kick to that, because when I went into that sex magic ritual in which I invoked various deities and in a very powerful ritualistic way, what I was not aware of at the time, which I see very clearly now, is that that intention, that calling in, was not coming from a place of profound trust, self-love, and true communion with source consciousness. It came from a place of having recently come out of a short relationship with somebody else and being a little bit angry and little bit desperate, actually, and very demanding. Like, this is what I want, if you don't give it to me now. Kind of, there was some energy of that in it as well as a deep heart's desire. So this was all mixed up, you know, it was all mixed up, but I can see those elements were in the mix at that time. I didn't see that then. All I was aware of at the time was my heart's longing for my beloved, right? But if I wasn't in a clear, grounded, whole place when I made that invocation. So what happened was that man that I called in, and that experience that I called in, it was like a paradise for 2 months, and then it became a hell because he turned out to have narcissistic qualities, and I began to feel like I was trapped in an abusive relationship. And all those beautiful things like money, gifts, I was showered with gifts, like so much abundance. It meant nothing because that experience that I was having in that relationship was hell, utter hell. And my lesson in that was, be very careful when you invoke the goddess, because I was invoking Kali, Isis, and other deities. Be really careful what you wish for, because nothing is hidden, and the darkness goes into that wish as much as the light. So be careful what you wish for, and know that you can only receive back the energy that you have put in. It was a huge cosmic face slap, that's for sure. That really really put me in my place, and of course really showed me my absence of self-worth and self-love. So even though I thought I wanted those things, what I ended up receiving was a greater gift, because that experience forced me to go inwards and commune deeper with myself, with Source, and really unravel more of that wounding around self-love and self-worth. So that, for me personally, is the greatest gift that money can't buy, that tropical beaches can't buy, that gold rings with rubies can't buy, because I'm here to awaken, not to load up my bank vault. My bank vault. I haven't got a bank vault. So now, just checking the time. Yeah, we're a little bit over time. So now for me, the question is how to marry desire with Source, desire with integrity, desire with love, desire with purity, to continue to honor that which I wish to create and manifest in the world fully, to let it be, to expand beyond the limiting beliefs that I still have. I'm sure we all have them. They're there in different ways for each of us. So to continue that expansion and to master manifestation and co-creation in alignment with Source consciousness from that really true place, as well as to navigate the shadows and the blocks that pop up along the way, because they will. And that is part of the process. Just going to flick over, see if I've missed anything. Yeah, a few things. Side notes. I really wish I could read what you've written there, but I can't read it. It's a bit frustrating, but hey, I will respond in writing. So let's just recap. Shakti is infinite creative power. We are her embodiment, so we do have that power to create anything. Let's do it consciously. Old paradigm is working hard. New paradigm is resonance and energy. All of us have massive untapped potential. And personally, again, I believe that when we are aligned with Source and creating our desires and manifesting our desires, that is a blessing and a fulfillment, not only to us, but to everybody. So, you know, the old paradigm was like there's a pie, and then, you know, there's only so much to go around. And if somebody's got this much, that means I can only have that much. That's old paradigm. The new paradigm is there's as much as you want for everybody. So you having everything you want is a blessing to everybody, right? There is a difference between manifesting from ego, from pure self-interest, to manifesting when in alignment. And I think this is a big one that I've had to get my head around, which was understanding, truly embodying the recognition that I am one with Goddess, that I am one with Source. And therefore, when I tune into my true desires, they are already one with her, right? There is no difference. There is no separation. What I truly feel as my heart and Yoni's burning desire is one with her. You know, that's the beauty in it. It's not some great big vast chasm of distinction and difference. And that's took me a long time to figure that one out. Every single true desire I've had, I've been supported by the universe to step into. Even when it's been a huge risk, even when I didn't think I had the money, even when I was scared, I've always been supported. So the universe has shown me the difference between the true soul's desire and that which is from the mind or from the ego. And again, not to judge that, but just to recognize that as a learning and like, aha, maybe I'll try it differently next time. It's good to know if you're a specific manifester or not. I'm not an expert in human design, so don't ask me. You have to find that out yourself. And of course, there are blocks and limitations that we're all working with, if we're honest, along the way. It could be about self-worth. It could be about self-judgment. It could be limiting beliefs. It could be you're wanting something but not putting your attention there, right? You're not focusing on it. Remember that your words are spells, and remember the power of prayer and ritual. When you are sincere from your heart, power and prayer are so powerful. Just recently, a month ago, even less than a month ago, there was something that I sincerely needed, and I sent out a prayer, and it basically came for me within a couple of days. The power of prayer and the power of ritual. The goddess, the deities, the angels are there to support us. And again, it just comes back to our intention, to our heart, to our sincerity, and to our integrity. Attachment. Despite all of this, if we attach our happiness to getting the outcome of our desires, we're going to be in suffering eternally. So there's an element of non-attachment that we have to bring in. I think that's all I want to say for today. So I feel like I've kind of gone through a lot, really quite at some length. Feel free to ask any questions. Feel free to share your own experiences. Feel free to share your own knowing. Yeah, there's a lot more that I could say, but I'm going to leave that for the workshop where we will be doing embodied practices, all kinds of visioning, exploring our shadows around this, and, you know, doing some sex magic, just really kind of diving in deeply to the embodiment of manifestation and creation as awakening women. And, you know, bringing your visions to life is a blessing. So I want to empower myself and more women to begin to create the new earth through the power that you have in body, in heart, in womb, in mind. Yeah. So that's all for now. I hope that's been inspiring and helpful in some way. Please remember that the Evolutionary Sister Circle, part of this Living Shakti Awake program, is starting this week on Wednesday. So Wednesday evening is our first circle. Once we've started, you can't join for this semester, so it's set up so that you enroll by the 3-month semester or for the whole year. So you can choose 3 months or you can choose the whole year. But we start this Wednesday, so if you're called to come to the Sister Circle, please be in touch. I'll put the information below. This workshop is part of the workshop series that will run in parallel, and you can enroll for both or just one. And again, with the workshop series that starts at the end of this month, you can enroll for the 3 months or for the whole year. So reach out if you've got any questions, and thank you for being with me today. Lots of love. Namaste.